Welcome to the Concentric Home Solution Woodworking channel. If you're an existing subscriber, I would like to thank you for being a subscriber. You're appreciated. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy this content, I would like to invite you to subscribe, like, leave a comment, and don't forget to hit the bell notification so you could be notified every time I drop a video. In this video, I will be talking about let's say two products that has to do with extending and aligning guide rails. One is by a company called Betterly and is a straight line connector. And the other one is a pair of devices made by TSO. It's called a GRC 12 version C. We'll see you on the other side. Let's start with this disclaimer. Well, not really a disclaimer, but something I'm going to get off of my chest from the get-go. If it's feasible, as in you have the space, I know Festool have crazy prices on these extrusion. Their longest ones is the price of power tools, contractor table saw basically. But if you have the space for it, the longer lengths are better suited for longer workpieces than trying to combine shorter pieces to make longer pieces, no matter what they tell you. And I'll tell you my feeling on that. It could be stated as a matter of fact, but I'm gonna go ahead and call it my opinion. These things, they're not reference tools. And even the reference tools work off of what in the machining world they call tolerances. So they are not perfect either. Higher tolerance is the closer they are to an ideal, which nothing can ever achieve. Just let you off. You can get close, but you never reach it. Something you can pursue infinitely. So you could reduce the amount of error, you could reduce, but it's still error. So when you get something like this, which is high precision, or like the Woodpecker squares and so forth like that, which is high precision, over a given length, they have a certain error rate. And that's how the lower that number tells you how precise that tool is. Like, this might have from one end of this tool to one end of this tool, it may deviate as much as, I don't remember what it is for this, but it may deviate as much as 0.02 of an inch. That's the imperfection that this has. Okay? For something less, something more inferior, that deviation may be triple that, double, triple that, or even more. And although this might be over its length, might be that error might be low, if you was to make this longer, the error magnifies. So if you want to achieve that accuracy over greater length, you need an even more precise tool to accomplish that. I'm saying this for a reason. When you extrude aluminum or anything over a long distance, aluminum itself, right, is not, compared to other metals, is not very stiff. They can sag, they can bend. And the process of producing them, though very accurate, they also have limitation in precision. I know this with the Festool tracks. And if you have them for yourself, you have multiples, you will notice that when you're using your track saw and you take it from one track to another track, almost without fail, you have to adjust it. Because they're not exactly the same. It might be a few thousand, but they're not the same. So you get the fact that a single piece is not perfect. Then you add another piece to it that's not perfect. You're adding in complexity, you're adding in more error. With that said, with these accessories that I'm about to show you, you can get it very close or within reason for the type of stuff that we do to continuous one. Now, the TSO one by itself claims that it's good enough. And for some people, it may be. I don't think it is, personally. It's pretty good, but it's not accurate enough for my liking. And I think the main reason for it is the material is made out of and the length. It's made out of aluminum and it's been drilled. So I don't know what steps in the process came first, if they ground it first, mill it first, and then drill it. But it is not flat. It's pretty close, but I won't consider it to be like a reference tool. It's pretty close. So, and then again, too, it's not this face that's registering to create the accuracy of it. So, and I have no means of measuring the actual reference surface, but it's my suspicion that the same G-code programming that was used to create the taper that creates the registration was the same code machining process that machined the outside. So I think if the outside is not I try to hold back from using the word perfect because it causes confusion. When I say perfect, I don't mean it literally. That nothing is perfect. Maybe I should use the word precision. Right, let's go with that. Is not as precise as I would like it. If it was made out of steel, and it like the original Festool one, and by the way, the qualms I had with the original Festool one is that let me say this. I had no faith in it staying where I put it, especially when you had to move the whole assembly around. This one, because it's tapered and you push it in and it tightens up on the sides, this one to me stays more secure. So that's why I like it. But to me, if it was made out of steel and it was grounded, I believe this originally was very precise. It's not very thin, but because of its thinness in relationship to its length, I think in the process, let it be drilling the holes or over time or in handling or whatever, there's a possibility that it may have warped a little bit. I could be wrong about that. But I'm saying that to say this, the Betterly one is much like a woodpecker tool. This is very precise. And it's also a very thick, wide, both thick and wide piece of aluminum extrusion. So there's little possibility of this warping or anything like that. So this is very precise. I have pulled it up to the light with my reference large Woodpecker, and it's both of them have error, so it's hard to tell which one is, but it's like very, very, very precise. This is a precision tool. Matter of fact, they also market it as a straight edge. You can use this as a straight edge. This is a precision straight edge, so that alone tells you. So the way I use it is I'll preload these into the extrusion, much like the Festool one. And again, if this thing was, if they were more along the length, which is about double this length, yeah, they would be more expensive. But imagine one, bring it over here so you can see it from above. If this was made out of steel, it can't be any wider because it's limited by, you know, the extrusion it has to fit into, so it can't be any wider, right? But it could be out of a stiffer material. So let's say this was made out of steel, stainless steel or whatever, right? And it was long like this. You would have more registration. If you can see what I'm going with this. And if it was machined, like a reference tool, like a straight edge, and it was two of them at that length, I think I wouldn't need this at all. This would have been a one shot for me, but it's not. So I use it in conjunction with my Betterly. My Betterly is good for straightening it, but you have to take it off because it can't stay on the track because of course it's gonna get in the way of the track saw. So if this was this length for one and it was two of them and it was made out of steel and ground, or should I say mill accurately, it would be a one and go. I wouldn't have need this. Okay, let's continue. So load them. It's just gonna be a little bit tricky because let's see if it's gonna want to fall. Yeah, it wants to fall because I don't have enough support. Let's see. Okay, this is gonna work. Okay, let's. I'm looking up here. Good. This little notch is here so you could. I don't know why it's there really, but I guess it's so you can sight this. And you do not want the two rails actually touching because these edges are not reference edges. Okay? Want a little bit of space. And you see how it says release and here it says lock. Turn to lock, pulls them straight. Fine. Another thing about this tool, I forgot how much I paid for it. I think it was about $45, $55. It came with this tool that's supposed to be for turning these Allen set screws. It's too small. I called them about it. They were supposed to send me out a next one. I think I followed up with them one additional time and I still haven't got one. And I'm of the personality, I don't chase people. So I just let it go. I've been using the Allen key to do it. So what I do is, because I don't want this pulling it into alignment, I just want it snug to hold it together. I turn this snugly. Same thing on the other side. And you want it just like this. You want 2 set screws on one side, 2 set screws on the other side. Same idea. Just snugly. Don't want to apply too much pressure. I don't want it fighting with this. Although I doubt it would win, but I don't want it fighting with this. Now with these tight, holding it in place, I can tip it up. That's a beautiful thing about that. I could do the back side now. You can't see, oops, that's why it's holding it up. You can't see the back side, but I can. I put it in place similarly to how I did on top, starting with the left side. Just snug. Don't over tighten it. Now, once that's done, I release it, and voila. Now, as I stated earlier, each one of these are imperfect. Couple thousands, whatever the case may be, they're imperfect. So you may want to do some test cut, because you may or may not have situations where you can create a belly in a cut by a couple thousand, or you can have it be like convex, which I prefer that, or a hollow, if you follow what I'm saying. I'd rather have 2 hollows in the middle than I have 2 bulges in the middle, personally, especially in plywood. So in other words, I'd rather the 2 ends them to be touching. So from my testing against a full length rail, understanding the full length rail is not perfect either. I've been able to register as much as 5/1000 of an inch, which is not bad. Even 6, 7, even 8,000 won't be bad for what we do. But I've been able to register a 5,000, gap. But the two together, to me, works very well. If this is about $100, I don't know how much it is today. When I bought it, which is I'm gonna say about 8 years ago, I saw it at a trade show and I purchased it. It was about $100. Now, when I mentioned that you may want to reverse it, meaning that instead of this way, I may want to take one and advance it and put them together that way and test it to see which one gives you the best result. Because one of them may give you a bulge, one of them may give you a little bit of a convex or a hollow. Once you get it the way you want it, you want to label it for the next time you go to put those rails together. Like right now, these are my number ones. If I have another combination, I'm gonna use maybe 2 strikes on each side so I don't confuse them. If you follow what I'm saying, you could do something like that if you have multiples. This come into play if you have a small shop or if you want to carry this to a job site. The long ones may be unwieldy and impractical for you to carry it. You may not have the length in your vehicle, whatever the case may be. So this is just a way to get this as accurate as possible. I would say within 90, this is just me shooting from the hip, let's say 98% of the accuracy of the full length one. It's not gonna be the equivalent, but very, very, very close. This, for me, has been the best way. For me, it has worked the best for me for getting accuracy that I deem acceptable. And that's using the Betterly straight line connector and the TSO connectors. With a sheet of paper like this, which is note paper, it slips when I was registering it against the longer one, which also in itself, as I mentioned earlier, is not perfect, but it's more accurate than these two together. I've been able to get 5,000th, and which is about double this paper. Actually, less than double this paper, because this paper would not go in when it's doubled. These two are 42.5-inch long each. This is 1080s. This one with the holes in it is for the LR32, I think is what it's called. LR32, yes. And this is just a regular rail that comes with a MFT, which is without the holes. So you combine these to make a longer one. You can't rip off an 8-foot sheet with it, but it's good for cross-cutting it. Because this will give you up to 85 inches. You can use two of the longer one, the 55s, and that is perfect for ripping a 4x8 sheet of plywood, MDF, whatever you do. Y'all know how I try to stay away from it. I just got back into it for the first time in years when I had to do my spoil board for my CNC table. And it reminded me how much I hate MDF. But that's it really, guys. A lot of people sell you on joining these things together, but I just want to let you know it's not the equivalent of getting a full length one, but you can get very, 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 very close using this system. Acceptable. And if you're like me, in a lot of cases it's not a big deal because you're just breaking this stuff down so you can get it to the table saw. Only time I'm using this right off of this if it's something that is, out on the field, or if it's something that's too unwieldy for the table saw. So this is a good solution. But for TSO, as a constructive criticism or a way I feel like you can improve this product, it's made out of aluminum. If you can charge a little bit more or whatever, charge what you need to charge. Make it out of steel. Make it longer. I love the idea. I think it would be a situation where you won't need both of these. You only need the pair of the TSOs and it would be perfect because you will have more registration along the length. And you won't have any potential problem of it deforming because it's aluminum. But once again, I'm not blaming it. The extrusion themselves is not perfect. You might be chasing your tail, so I don't know. But personally, kind of like the Bentley, it's registering over a longer distance. You can see it right here. It's registering over a greater distance, so I think it's going to be more accurate. It's straighter over a longer distance than these, and it's registering over a greater distance than these. So if this can mimic this idea in a stiffer material, such as steel, I think it will eliminate the need of this, if that makes sense. Thank you for watching. As usual, be safe in the shop and have a good day. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to be notified when new content is dropped on this channel, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and drop a comment down below.